Ah, the Disciples of Tzeentch. Oh, how I despise you. Oh, sorry. Oh, I mean, shit. Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, back with another review video, and today we are, of course, reviewing the new Disciples of Tzeentch Battletome from the Age of Sigmar. This is very, very exciting. This is our first Battletome review, so this is the first time we're going to be flexing our Sigmar muscles. It's not broken! It's not broken! Whew. Yes, this is the first time we are flexing our Age of Sigmar muscles. I'm very, very, very happy. Age of Sigmar is my favourite of the two main game systems from Games Workshop out of 40k and Age of Sigmar. And massive thank you to Games Workshop for sending me this Battletome nice and early so I can get a handle on how to defeat my eternal nemesis. Yes, I have faced the Disciples of Tzeentch in almost every iteration of this book, and I have always, without fail, without exception, lost. Badly. So this book and I are off to a bad start already. I thought it would be funny to shred it on video or set fire to it so I could get my first ever win over the book, but it doesn't deserve that. Nothing does. We all have that nemesis. For me in 40k, it's the Thousand Suns. Wait a minute. Do I just suck against Tzeentch, no matter the universe? By Sigmar's beard, I've learned something new about myself today. With that, let's jump into Battletome Disciples of Tzeentch, without literally jumping. My bulk would simply destroy it. And maybe that's how I win. The change god Tzeentch is anarchy incarnate, a deity who revels in madness, mutation, and unbound sorcery. Great swaths of the mortal realms have been remade in his image. Once pristine forests and glittering cities have been transformed into sanity-shredding wastelands where warped and tentacled abominations roam. Crystalline towers jut from the earth, and infernos of raw magic turn the skies into a kaleidoscope of vile colours. This is the fate that Tzeentch wishes to inflict upon all of reality. For his mortal disciples, Tzeentch covets men and women of ambition, those who desire power above all and employ duplicitous means to achieve it. Schemes and machinations are the change god's delight, and he encourages such individuals with hushed whispers and promised boons, ensnaring them in his own unimaginably complex plots like puppets on a string. Gathering in the shadows of civilization, the Disciples of Tzeentch work to bring about the collapse of order and destroy the tyranny of reason. They commit the vilest rituals of murder and desecration, reciting arcane phrases to summon forth demons from beyond the veil. The God King's ignorant crusaders fail to grasp a simple truth. Change is inevitable, and those who deny it condemn themselves to an eternity of madness and torment. At the end of the Age of Myth, it was Tzeentch who ultimately turned the tide against Sigmar as he tricked the God King into hurling Galmaraz at an illusion and was separated from the mighty Warhammer. It was in this moment that Sigmar called for a full retreat to the realm of heaven, eventually abandoning the realms to their fate and sealing shut the gates of Azir. As we all know though, that would not be the end of Sigmar. In the Age of Chaos, before Sigmar's return to the mortal realms and the coming of the Age of Sigmar, the Pantheon of Chaos ruled almost all of the realms and were on the precipice of subjugating all of the realms with the exception of the Sealed Azir. Tzeentch focused his efforts on the realm of Chamon, the realm of metal. Chamon is unique amongst the realms, for its land masses are not locked together as a series of tectonic plates, islands and continents, but rather the great domains of the realm are connected to each other by mystical portals and eldritch bonds. It is ever shifting, ever changing, rich with rare resources, and extremely attractive to the god of change and his followers. It was in Chamon that Galmaraz was found by the Arcanite cults and was hidden away so that Sigmar could not reclaim the powerful artifact and, essentially, weapon of mass destruction. When the Stormcast Eternals arrived, however, Tzeentch failed to keep a hold of the Warhammer, and it was safely returned to Sigmar, and now is wielded by the Celestin Prime. Despite this, and many other victories, Tzeentch still rules much of Chamon, and it is there that he is determined to unravel the geomantic patterns underpinning reality so that he can remake the realms to his designs and desires. That's a very brief overview of the Disciples of Tzeentch, but there's tons and tons of information, there's tons and tons of artwork and lore and history and detail in here. I mean, check out this map. How cool is that? The first half of the book is absolutely well worth a read, as all of them are, so heartily recommend. 10 out of 10, would do again. But you're all here for rules too, right? So let's look at the Disciples of Tzeentch and how they play on the battlefields of the mortal realms. As you might expect, the Disciples of Tzeentch are very magic orientated. They're a tricky army to master and not for the faint of heart, but once you do master them, you can beat almost anybody in the game. There's a reason they stay more or less near the top of the meta edition after edition, and this book is no different. Let's look at the battle traits and allegiance abilities. Arcane Armies. In the first battle round, after the players have received their starting command points, but before the start of the first turn, you can pick one friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizard on the battlefield. That wizard can automatically cast a spell that they know that summons a Burning Sigil of Tzeentch, Tome of Eyes, or Demonic Simulacrum Endless spell. Do not make a casting roll. That spell cannot be unbound and cannot be dispelled in the first battle round. Set up the Endless spell as described in the effect for that spell. Tome of Eyes is my choice here, on a multicast wizard that you want to get your spells off in turn 1 almost guaranteed. A Gaunt Summoner is a great choice here. Masters of Destiny. At the end of deployment, roll 9 dice and put them to one side. These are your Destiny dice. Destiny dice can be used during the battle to change dice rolls. Instead of making one of the rolls from the list below for a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch unit, you can spend one or more of your Destiny dice. The roll you would have made is replaced with the roll on the Destiny dice you spend, and if you want to replace an XD6 roll, you must spend a number of Destiny dice equal to the X. Any rolls that have been replaced count as unmodified rolls and cannot be re-rolled or modified unless noted below. Destiny dice can be spent in place of the following dice rolls: casting rolls, unbinding rolls, dispelling rolls, run rolls, charge rolls, hit rolls, wound rolls, save rolls. You must still modify the roll by the rend characteristic of the attacking weapon. Any roll that determines the damage characteristic of a missile or melee weapon. Battle shock rolls. You must still modify the roll by the number of models slain in that unit. It's a very powerful mechanic. It's very familiar to Disciples of Tzeentch fans, and you can see how it will really help in particular situations. Locus of Change. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target friendly Disciples of Tzeentch demon units that are wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch demon hero. This is good, especially given how many characters you're likely to be bringing to the game. It's going to be very useful. Change Covens. These are your subfactions, so for all you 40k fans out there, basically they're like your chapter tactics. You get 6 different options, which we won't go into just yet, and we won't go into all of them, because, well, there's 6 of them. Summon Demons of Tzeentch. You can summon Disciples of Tzeentch demons units to the battle if you have enough fate points. Each time a casting roll is successful, and the spell is not unbound, you receive 1 fate point. If you have any fate points at the end of your movement phase, you can summon 1 unit from the list below to the battlefield and add it to your army. Each unit you summon costs the number of fate points shown on the list, and you can only summon it if you have enough fate points to do so. Units must be set up more than 9 inches from all enemy units, and wholly within 9 inches of a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch hero. And here is the table, just to give you a good idea, of what you will be summoning. Given how you will be leaning into spells and casting with this army, achieving 10 fate points in a turn is fairly attainable. It's neat, and you probably won't need to summon anything in turn 1. You could conceivably in turn 2 be rocking 20 fate points to bring in stuff to replace any casualties you might have suffered, or to bump up your forces. We also have Legions of Chaos that allows you to have coalition units from the Slaves to Darkness faction for every 2 in 4 units in your army, and 1 in every 4 unit can be Beasts of Chaos that don't have the Tzeentch keyword. You cannot include Khorne or Nurgle keywords in the army. Coalitions are ignored when determining if the units in the army are from a single faction, and they don't count as allied units, so that's nice. Lastly, we have Transform to Spawn. Basically, stuff can transform into Tzeentch Chaos Spawn. It is what it is. As for your enhancements, this is where things split off. We have Arcanites and Demons. One is Mortals, the other is Demons. So, command traits up first. My favourite here is Arcane Sacrifice for an Arcanite's hero, such as the Curseling. Wizards only. At the start of your hero phase, you can cause 1 mortal wound to a friendly Tzeentch unit within 3 inches of this general. If you do so, until the end of that phase, add 9 inches to the range of all spells successfully cast by this general. Yikes. One of the things that's interesting about the heroes in this book is you have a lot of single cast wizards. The ones which have multiple casts are the ones you want to enhance with something like this. You can choose something like Arch Sorcerer to know 2 extra spells, but if you only cast 1 and you take a bunch of characters for fate points, you don't really need to do this. On the demon side, we have Demon Spark to immediately gain 3 fate points once per game, which can help you in a pinch if you're just shy of the points you need, or Nexus of Fate, which can be used to replace a Destiny dice with a freshly rolled dice, which is great for replacing any ones you might not want or need. Next up, we have Artifacts of Power. For our Arcanites, my pick of the bunch is Secret Eater. Pick one of the bearer's weapons. If the unmodified hit roll for any attack made with that weapon is 6, and you have fewer than 9 Destiny dice, you can roll a dice and add it to your Destiny dice. This is great. Again, if you use this on, say, a Curseling who has the greatest combat potential of the mortals, he's a great shout for restoring some Destiny dice. In the demons, the best one here is Nine-Eyed Tome. Reroll all magic checks in a magic army. That's the one. 2 spell laws are here for the Disciples again, 1 for Arcanites and Mortals, and 1 for Demons. The Law of Fate. This spell law, for Mortal or Arcanite wizards, tends to veer towards the buffs and debuffs. Glimpse the Future is great as you can once again regenerate Destiny dice. This is great when combined with the Secret Eater artifact, as it lets you spend Destiny dice without having to debate it too much. But don't go absolutely nuts. You can buff the caster with Infusion Arcanum. Treacherous Bond is fun, and Shield of Fate and Arcane Suggestion are great for buffing you and debuffing your opponent. All in all, it's a pretty tidy spell lore, and you will probably be able to cast all of these powers. The Law of Change. Now this is for the Disciples of Tzeentch Demon Wizards, naturally, and this spell lore tends to do damage. Treason of Tzeentch, Unchecked Mutation, Tzeentch's Firestorm, and Bolt of Tzeentch all do various amounts of mortal wounds. It's worth noting here that whilst Bolt of Tzeentch appears on both spell laws, you can only cast it once per turn. D6 mortal wounds is tasty though, so you'll take it on both a mortal and a demon wizard to make sure you can cast it for longer in the game. And here come the Change Covens. They're up next, and you have 6 to choose from, as previously mentioned. They all do something different than the next, which is nice, and my top picks are the Host's Arcanum, the Pyrophane Cult, and the Guild of Summoners. The Host's Arcanum get an auto unbind on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th battle rounds, and, in addition, can take Screamers of Tzeentch as Battleline units. The Pyrophane Cult do mortal wounds on 5s if any of your enemy units were wounded by Kyric Acolytes, and the Guild of Summoners summons Lords of Change, and only Lords of Change, but they change the cost from 30 to 9 for the first summon, and 18 for further Lords of Change. The Guild of Summoners sounds wild, and it is, but remember you are only allowed to summon the Lord of Change, meaning all your chaff and stuff has to be on the tabletop. You can't create more roadblocks and stuff by summoning in fresh Screamers, or Pink Horrors, or Blue Horrors, or anything like that. It is all on the tabletop, because you can only summon Lords of Change. You get some fun stuff in the grand strategies and battle tactics. One of the easier ones to do here is Master of Destiny. If you are topping up your Destiny dice, as discussed earlier, when the battle ends, add the rolls of any Destiny dice that you have not used. You complete the grand strategy if the total is 9 or more. Now essentially, if you roll multiple 6s and a 3, you could just put that aside and play with 7 Destiny dice, having already accomplished your grand strategy. Just save them to the end of the battle. Who needs 9? You do? Nah. You get a core battalion in here as well, which is nuts. It consists of Kairos Fateweaver and 3 Lords of Change. Taking that will give you an extra command point once per battle when you receive your command points in the hero phase. I mean, it's cool, but will you ever see it? Maybe. Now, as you'll see over the next section of this video where we look at some of the War Scrolls, there's not a lot of stuff here that will leap out to you as being ridiculously destructive. Gone are the days of Zangor Skyfire spam. I mean, that hasn't been a thing for a long time, but it still scars me to this day. You don't have a lot of premier combat units. You don't have fantastic artillery set pieces, but what you do have is a lot of tricks and a lot of toys to play with to create those situations where stacking up your buffs and debuffs, you can absolutely bring the pain. So let's look at those War Scrolls. I'm going to pick out my favourite ones. I'm not going to show them all to you because there is loads of them in here. You've got all of the mortals and all of the demons as well. There's more heroes in here, I think, than most other books put together. First up, we of course have to talk about Kairos Fateweaver. Now, he has 16 wounds, a bravery of 10 and a 4+ save, and his move is degradable, but it starts at 12 inches. He has 2 melee weapons. Staff of Tomorrow, it has a 3-inch range with 3 attacks, 3+ to hit, and it has a degrading damage table for his to wound roll, starting at 1+ and going down to a 4+. It has a rend of -1 and a damage of 2. He also has the curved beaks, which has a 1-inch range, 5 attacks, 4+ to hit, 3+ to wound, and -1 rend, damage 2. Kairos is a wizard, of course he is. He can attempt to cast 3 spells in the hero phase and attempt to unbind 3 spells in the enemy hero phase. He can fly, and he adds 1 to casting rolls, dispelling rolls, and unbinding rolls for friendly Tzeentch wizards while they are wholly within 18 inches of this unit. In addition, Kairos knows all of the spells from the Law of Change. As a spell thief, if this unit successfully dispels an endless spell, instead of dispelling it, you can say that it will steal it. If you do so, this unit gains control of that endless spell and counts as the wizard that summoned it until it is dispelled or another unit steals it. Oracle of Eternity. At the start of your hero phase, if this unit is part of your army and on the battlefield, and you have fewer than 9 destiny dice, you can roll a dice and add it to your destiny dice. Mastery of Magic. When you make a casting, unbinding, or dispelling roll for this unit, you can change the lowest d6 to match the highest d6. Kairos on his War Scroll also has Infernal Gateway. Infernal Gateway is a spell that has a casting value of 7 and a range of 18 inches. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit within range and visible to the caster and roll 9 dice. That enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound for each roll that is equal to or greater than the Infernal Gateway table shown on the caster's damage table. Now it starts at 3+ and goes down to 6+, so Infernal Gateway is a pretty good source of mortal wounds from Kairos. All in all, as a 435 point leader and Behemoth, Kairos Fateweaver is pretty awesome. I wouldn't say he's an absolute must-take because we also have the Lord of Change who comes in a bit cheaper, but I feel like he has a place on most Disciples of Tzeentch armies. He's a very good centerpiece, he's very good at casting those spells, so using the Arcane Armies ability on him is a pretty good idea, especially if you want to deal a bunch of damage. However, you don't want to have him as your warlord because then you can't give him a command trait or an artifact because he is unique. Of course he is. He's Kairos Fateweaver. And as discussed, we have the Lord of Change. Now he has weapon options. The Lord of Change is armed with one of the following options: a Staff of Tzeentch and a Baleful Sword, a Staff of Tzeentch and a Rod of Sorcery, or Staff of Tzeentch and Curved Beak and Wicked Talons. This is all the options that you get for building a Lord of Change in the box. The Rod of Sorcery is a ranged weapon at 18-inch range, 2d6 attacks, 3+, 3+, -1, and damage 1. The melee weapons, the Staff of Tzeentch is actually better than the Staff of Tomorrow. It has a 3-inch range and it has 4 attacks, it hits on 3s, it has a similar to wound damage table, and its rend is non-existent, and damage 2. Now this is where you have that kind of difference between the Staff of Tomorrow, is that you get that extra attack, but you don't have any rend. But there is ways to get rend. The Baleful Sword is pretty cool. It has 3 attacks, 4+ to hit, 2+ to wound, rend of -2, and damage 3, so watch out. The Lord of Change can of course fly. It is a wizard, it can cast 2 spells in the hero phase and attempt to unbind 2 spells in the enemy hero phase. It adds 1 to casting rolls, dispelling rolls and unbinding rolls for friendly Tzeentch wizards while they are wholly within 18 inches of this unit. In addition, this unit also knows all of the spells from the Lord of Change. The Lord of Change is also a spell thief, so the same as Kairos. It also has the Mastery of Magic, so can change the lowest d6 to match the highest d6, and it also has Infernal Gateway, which is pretty strong. Now bear in mind you can only cast Infernal Gateway once, you can't cast it multiple times as per the rules. Is the Lord of Change or Kairos Fateweaver a better option? Could you take both? You absolutely could. I prefer the Lord of Change just because he's that little bit cheaper, and you know, he's not a named character, so this guy could be your warlord and get artifacts and command traits. The next one I want to point out is the Blue Scribes. They have 5 wounds, a move of 16 inches, a 4+ save and bravery 10. Their melee weapons with the sharpened quills and teeth and horns aren't much to write home about, and they are on a disc, which means they can fly. They can attempt to cast 1 spell and unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase. Now, that doesn't sound like it's particularly great. However, this unit knows all of the spells from the Law of Fate and Law of Change. In addition, once in each of your hero phases, when this unit attempts to cast a spell, instead of making a casting roll, you can say that it will read from its scrolls of sorcery. If you do so, roll a dice. On a 2+, that spell is successfully cast and cannot be unbound. In addition, with frantic scribbling, if this unit is part of a Disciples of Tzeentch army, each time an enemy wizard within 9 inches of this unit successfully casts a spell, and that spell is not unbound, you can roll a dice, and on a 3+, you receive 1 fate point. Given as you want to accrue the fate points, standing the Blue Scribes in the middle of a battery of characters casting magic spells left, right and centre, you're gaining fate points for every successful cast, and on a 3+, you're gaining even more fate points. This is what I'm talking about, stacking it up so you can summon in all those lovely screamers. Next up we have the Gaunt Summoners. Now you can take one on a Disc of Tzeentch or you can take one on foot. They're mostly similar, so let's have a quick look at the one on Disc, as I believe this is the better option. It has 6 wounds, 16-inch move, a 4+ save and a bravery of 8. It has a missile weapon with the Change Staff of an 18-inch range, 3 attacks, 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound, -1 rend and damage 1. Its melee weapons include the Warp Tongue Blade and Teeth and Horns from the Disc. We have 2 attacks with the Warp Tongue Blade at 3+, 3+, -2 D3 damage, and the Teeth and Horns are D3 attacks at 4+, 3+, -1 damage 1. This unit can fly because of the Disc, and it is a wizard, of course. It can cast 2 and unbind 2. Because of the Book of Profane Secrets, add 1 to casting rolls, dispelling rolls and unbinding rolls for this unit. In addition, this unit knows all of the spells from the Law of Fate. As the Lords of the Silver Towers, once per battle at the end of a phase, you can pick one enemy hero that is within 9 inches of this unit and that made an attack that targeted this unit in that phase or caused any mortal wounds to this unit with an ability or spell in that phase, even if the wounds or mortal wounds were negated. If you do so, roll 2d6. If the roll is greater than the wounds characteristic of that hero is removed from play. As a designer's note, that hero cannot be returned if you are allowed to bring back slain models. The model has not been slain. So this is really good. With the Silvered Portal, after you've deployed this unit, when you would set up another friendly Tzeentch unit that is not a monster, you can say that it is in this Gaunt Summoner's Silver Tower as a reserve unit. Up to 2 units can be set up in reserve in this way, and at the end of any of your movement phases you can set up 1 or more of these units on the battlefield, wholly within 9 inches of this unit and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. At the start of the 4th battle round, reserve units that are still in the Silver Tower are destroyed. The Gaunt Summoner also has a War Scroll spell in Infernal Flames. Infernal Flames is a spell that has a casting value of 7 and a range of 12 inches. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit within range and visible to the caster. Roll 1 dice for each model in that unit, and for each 5+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If that unit is a monster or war machine, roll 5 dice for each model instead of 1. I like this, I like the Gaunt Summoner, I think you want to have him in your army. He is a bit pricey at 275 points on a disc and 235 points off a disc, but I think it's absolutely worth it to have a 2-cast wizard that knows all the spells from the Lore of Fate. It's just very, very useful. The last character we're of course going to talk about is the Curseling. Curseling has 5 wounds, has a 5-inch move, 3+ save, and a bravery of 7. It comes with a missile weapon of Hurled Arcane Energy, which is an 18-inch range, d6 attacks, 3+, 3+, -1, damage 1 missile weapon. For his melee weapons, he has the Blazing Sword, with a 1-inch range and 4 attacks at 3+, 3+, -1, damage 2, and the Staff of Tzeentch at 1-inch range, d6 attacks, 4+, 4+, no rend, damage 1. It's a lot of opportunities for, say, maybe some generation of some Destiny dice? He is a wizard, he casts 2, and he attempts to unbind 2 in the enemy hero phase. You can reroll unbinding and dispelling rolls for this unit, and as a Vessel of Chaos, if this unit successfully unbinds a spell, it can immediately attempt to cast the Glean Magic spell, even though it is the enemy hero phase. If that spell is successfully cast, it cannot be unbound. What is the Glean Magic spell? Well, Glean Magic is a spell that has a casting value of 4 and a range of 30 inches. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy wizard within range and visible to the caster. Pick 1 spell from that wizard's war scroll that is possible for this unit to cast and roll a dice. On a 2+, the caster knows that spell for the rest of the battle. As a designer's note, spells that require the caster to have a specific keyword, refer to a damage table, or require an endless spell to be a part of their army cannot be picked with this ability. Overall, some really great characters. You've got a lot more in here, such as Magisters and Heralds of Tzeentch and the Fate Master, etc, etc. But these were my standouts. They all have multiple casting abilities and a lot of abilities to help them achieve those casting of those magic spells. It's just very useful, and I suspect you're going to want to take all, if not most of them, in each of your Disciples of Tzeentch armies. So what does a Disciples of Tzeentch army look like? Well, having some Kyric Acolytes may help you. I think they're my favourite of the battle line for these guys, excluding the conditional battle line such as the Screamers of Tzeentch in a Hosts Arcanum army, but the Kyric Acolytes are pretty good now. They only have 1 wound, they have a 6-inch move, they have a 5+ save, and they have a bravery of 5, which isn't amazing, but they do have missile weapons, each and every single one of them, an 18-inch range with 1 attack, 4+, 3+, no rend, damage 1. The melee weapons are very similar. They're all kind of 4+, 3+, -1, damage 2, or no rend on the Cursed Blade, the Cursed Glaive that gives the -1. So they don't sound like they're immediately going to be tearing up the battlefield, but they are a wizard. Whilst this unit has 9 or more models, it can attempt to cast 1 spell in your hero phase and attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase. It only knows the Gestalt sorcery spell and cannot attempt to cast any other spells. Any number of Kyric Acolytes units can attempt to cast the Gestalt sorcery in the same hero phase. So that's a caveat that if you've got multiple Kyric Acolyte units, you can cast it multiple times. That spell is a spell that casts on a value of 6 and a range of 9 inches. If successfully cast, pick 1 friendly Kyric Acolytes unit wholly within range of the caster, and until your next hero phase, improve the rend characteristic of that unit's sorcerous bolts by 1. If your Kyric Acolytes are carrying a shield, they have a ward save of 6+. 1 model in the unit can be a Kyric Adept, so the Sergeant. 1 in every 10 models in this unit can carry a Scroll of Dark Arts, Add 1 to casting and unbinding rolls for this unit while it has any scrolls of dark arts, and 1 in every 10 models in this unit can be accompanied by a Vulkark. If an enemy wizard casts a spell within 18 inches of a friendly unit that contains any Vulkarks, roll a dice. On a 4+, that wizard suffers 1 mortal wound after the effect of that spell has been resolved. I really like them. For 120 points, that's pretty cheap. It's the second cheapest Battleline option in the book after the Screamers of Tzeentch, if you are a host's Arcanum army. They're a pretty good candidate for any reinforcements. I would probably recommend taking them in units of 20, which is why I plan to take 2 units of 20, and that's a lot of flesh to paint. We have to talk about Horrors of Tzeentch. We just have to. They have 1 wound each, they have a 5-inch move, a 6+ save, and a bravery of 10. They have missile weapons and melee weapons, their magical flames being a missile weapon at 12-inch range, and they have a table here. You get 6 attacks with that for the iridescent, 3 for the pink, 2 for the blue, and 1 for the brimstone. Similarly, with the talent hands, you get 2 attacks on the iridescent, 2 attacks on the brimstone, and 1 each on the pink and blue. You don't really want these guys in combat, but you kind of do to tie your opponents down. Their magical flames hit on a 5+, and they wound on a 4+. They have no rend, and they have a damage of 1. The talent hands fare a little bit better at 4+ to hit and 4+ to wound, but they still have no rend, and they have damage 1. Now here's the thing about horrors, they are Battleline as long as they are pink horrors. They are not Battleline if they are blue horrors, and they are not Battleline if they are a unit of brimstone horrors. The points values do change on them, but they start at 250 for a unit of 10 pink horrors, which is very pricey. But it's pricing in the fact that you can split into blues and then brimstones, making them incredibly annoying to deal with for anyone. When you do pick them to be part of your army though, you do have to pick whether they're going to split and split again or have the Petty Vengeance ability. The split and split ability you are probably familiar with by now. If a pink horror dies, you can replace it with 2 blue horrors, and if a blue horror dies, you can replace it with a base of brimstone horrors. For Petty Vengeance, if a model in this unit is slain, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit and roll a dice. If the roll is equal to or greater than the Petty Vengeance roll for the slain model, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. You're probably never going to pick Petty Vengeance, you're probably going to pick Split and Split again, for them to justify their points cost. When you add and remove these horrors, replacement models that are added to this unit must be set up 1 at a time within 1 inches of the position that was occupied by the model they are replacing. Replacement models that are added to this unit can only be set up within 3 inches of an enemy unit if a model from this unit is already within 3 inches of that enemy unit. Replacement models added to this unit can take it above its maximum size. The standard bearer is pretty interesting here. 1 in every 10 pink horrors in this unit can be a pink horror icon bearer instead. At the start of your hero phase, if you have a Disciples of Tzeentch army, roll 1 dice for each pink horror icon bearer in this unit. For each 3+, you receive 1 fate point. With the musician as an option, 1 in every 10 pink horrors can be given a pink horror hornblower instead. Add 1 to save rolls for this unit while it includes any pink horror hornblowers. This is very, very useful. I've mentioned the Screamers a few times because, well, they're cheap and they could be Battleline in a host's Arcanum army. They have 3 wounds each, they have a 16-inch move, a 5+ save, and a bravery of 10. Their Lamprey Bite is a 1-inch range attack with 3 attacks, 3+, 3+, -1, damage 1. The unit can fly, and the unit still has its Slashing Fins ability. After this unit has made a normal move, run, retreated, or made a charge move, pick 1 enemy unit and roll a dice. For each model in this unit that passed across any models in that enemy unit, for each 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So it's a very fast, very cool way of creating those roadblocks, doing a little bit of mortal wound damage, and picking off any stragglers or slightly weakened units from the magical bombardment that will have happened just before. Lastly, we are going to talk about Tzaangor Skyfires. There are 190 points in here for a unit of 3. They are still pretty good. They have a 16-inch move because of their disc, they can fly, they've got 4 wounds each, they have a 4+ save and a bravery of 6. The Arrow of Fate, which is the missile weapon, is a 24-inch range, 1 attack, 4+ to hit, 3+ to wound, -1, damage, D3. They have melee weapons with the bow stave, the vicious beak and teeth and horns, but these aren't much to write home about. The leader of this unit is an aviarch. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of that model's Arrow of Fate. Now here's the thing with these abilities, guided by the future. Ignore negative modifiers to hit rolls or wound rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by this unit, and ignore positive modifiers to save rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by this unit. That's good. However, it gets even better. With Judgment from Afar, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with an Arrow of Fate is 6, the target suffers D3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound roll or save roll. Now if you roll a pile of 6s on your destiny dice, you can just use them to replace the hit roll and immediately do a bunch of D3 mortal wounds. It's very good. It's very strong. But it's not what it once was, when they were super cheap. I've mentioned the Tome of Eyes before, and we should probably talk about it. It's an endless spell. It can be summoned on a casting value of 5 and a range of 1 inch. If successfully cast, set up this endless spell within range and visible to the caster, and more than 1 inches from all other models, other endless spells and invocations. Only Disciples of Tzeentch wizards can attempt to summon this endless spell. It is linked to the summoner, so it has to stay within 1 inch. And what it does is it lets you reroll casting rolls for the model that summoned this endless spell while this endless spell is on the battlefield. With the Parchment Curse, it is a spell that is known by the model that summoned this endless spell. While this endless spell is on the battlefield, it knows it. It has a casting value of 8 and a range of 18 inches. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within range and visible to the caster and roll a dice. On a 3+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. In addition, for each model slain by those mortal wounds, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of that model's unit to a minimum of 1 for the rest of the battle. It's nice. If it can't be unbound right at the beginning, it's very nice. It lets you get those reroll of castings. It's just great. I really like it. Yes, there we have it. I think it's a really cool book. There's a lot of potential in here. You can see how you can create those schemes on the battlefield and how you can really kind of rev up the potential of the army. I've got a list that I'm thinking of putting together, and let's talk about that now. So here we have my list for the Disciples of Tzeentch. It's going to be pretty fun to play, I think. We have a Host's Arcanum Change Coven, we have a Lord of Change, Curseling, Changeling, the Blue Scribes, Gaunt Summoner on Disc. We have 20 Kyrek Acolytes, 20 Kyrek Acolytes, 3 Screamers of Tzeentch, 3 Zangor Skyfires, and the Tome of Eyes Endless Spell. The idea here is that we basically just cast spells until we can bring in more models. We have 2 spells on the Lord of Change, 2 on the Curseling, 2 on the Changeling, 1 on the Blue Scribes, 2 on the Gaunt Summoner for 9 from the characters, and we have 2 from the Kyrek Acolytes. So 11 spells, meaning we're going to generate anywhere in the region of 10 or 12 or 15 points for our fate pool. Now this is really useful because it means we can bring in pink horrors in turn 2 to act as that annoying roadblock that can then split and split again into blues and then brimstones, just so that we're keeping the enemy away from our casting units, because these guys are fragile, right? And we don't want to lose them. We're also going to be stacking up destiny dice and making sure we're getting those mortal wounds off with the Zangor Skyfire, so it will be important to protect them. A way to improve this would be to maybe take 2 units of 10 of the Kyrek Acolytes and take another unit of Skyfires, maybe, just to add even more damage potential. But we would be spending lots of destiny dice then to guarantee 6s, which we wouldn't always do every single time, but it's pretty fun to do when it happens. And so that's it, we are done. Battletome Disciples of Tzeentch. Thank you so much, Games Workshop, for sending me this. I have really enjoyed making this video. It's been an absolute joy to do. I hate them. I get beaten by them. So what? All the time. It's just my blind spot. I can't help it. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited to play against them once again in 3rd edition. I just think this is a really nice book. I think it's really well balanced. I think there's a couple of quality of life changes that have happened here that make the army a little bit more accessible for people who are starting out with the army. It's not the complex winner takes all tome anymore. I don't think. I think it's better than it used to be. It might not be quite as powerful, but I think it's a better book in general. But it was super fun to do this, so thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, please do drop a like and comment down below letting me know what you think. And if you really liked it, why not consider subscribing to the channel? That would be really nice of you. That would let me know that you want me to do more of these Battletome videos. I mean, I'll do them anyway, because I love them, and Age of Sigmar is the best. But it'd be nice to know that you guys like it too. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/Warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/Warhipster. Alternatively, you can become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these awesome folks have done. And if you really loved this one and you just want to shoot me some support, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.